Hey, you know, being a parent it's just this incredible journey, right? But let's be honest, it's also filled with worries. You might see a certain behavior in your child that feels, well, challenging, or maybe even concerning, and that can feel pretty isolating. But what if those exact behaviors, the ones that really test our patience, are actually signs of some hidden brilliance? Well, today, we're going to dig right into that idea.
Does this sound familiar to you? You set a rule, a really simple one, and boom, you are hit with a storm of whys. But why do I have to? Why does it even work that way? It can be absolutely exhausting. It feels like your authority is just constantly being put on trial. And believe me, you are not alone in feeling that frustration.
Okay, but just hang on a second. Let's reframe that. What if this isn't about defiance at all, but about a deep, driving curiosity? Psychology actually suggests that what we often label as just being difficult can be a sign of a mind that's just, well, working on a completely different level. We're going to explore how you can spot this hidden brilliance in kids who might just be, misunderstood. So we're going to look at 3 common worries that parents have, and we'll see how just a little shift in perspective can transform them from problems into these powerful signs of a gifted mind. Let's start with that classic one, the constant questioning. So on one hand, yeah, there's the worry, this constant questioning that feels like they're just pushing back on everything. But on the other side, there's this incredible potential. This isn't just arguing for the sake of it. It's a deep, innate need to understand how things work from the absolute ground up. Psychologists actually have a term for this: creative restructuring. Think about that for a second. Deconstruction. Your child isn't just trying to fight your authority. Their mind is literally taking the system you've given them, like bedtime or why we have certain house rules, and they're pulling it apart piece by piece to see how it was built. They just have this fundamental need to get the why before they can really get on board with the what.
Okay, let's move on to the second big worry. You might notice your child seems to prefer being alone. Maybe they look a little withdrawn at birthday parties or family gatherings. And that worry is totally natural. Are they lonely? Are they having a hard time making friends? But the potential here is something we see as deep cognitive processing.
And this is such a key distinction to make. What looks like social withdrawal from the outside is very often intense mental activity on the inside. For a mind that's just constantly absorbing and analyzing everything, quiet time isn't empty space. It is essential processing time. It's their time to connect the dots, to explore big ideas, and basically to recharge that powerful mental engine they've got. And this brings us to a trait that can feel like a real paradox. You see how incredibly bright your child is, but they express a surprising amount of self-doubt. They might say things like, "I just don't know," or "I'm not good at this," even when you know for a fact they are. So the worry becomes, oh no, they have low self-esteem. But the potential? It's actually a remarkably mature trait called intellectual humility. See, this isn't a lack of confidence. It's actually an abundance of awareness. Their understanding is so advanced that they can see the whole vast landscape of what they don't know yet. It's basically the exact opposite of that Dunning-Kruger effect, where people tend to overestimate how much they know. This self-doubt is actually a sign of an intellect that's sophisticated enough to recognize its own limits. Pretty amazing, right? Now look, these aren't just some nice feel-good ideas. They're actually rooted in established psychological concepts. And understanding them really helps us see the why behind all this behavior. So let's quickly break down the key terms we've been talking about. First up, creative restructuring. This is the engine that's driving all of that questioning. It's not about being difficult. It's the mind's natural way of building a stronger, more authentic foundation of knowledge by taking things apart first. Next, cognitive speed mismatch. This can often explain that social withdrawal we talked about. I mean, think about it. If your child's mind is running at 100 miles per hour and the world around them is moving at, say, 20, they might just check out because of sheer boredom or frustration. That quiet time is their way of finally getting to operate at their own, much faster pace. And finally, there's intellectual humility. And this just perfectly explains that confusing self-doubt. It's the profound understanding that the more you learn, the more you discover there is to learn. It really is a sign of a truly expansive and brilliant mind. So, what does this all mean for you as a parent? Well, it means we have this incredible opportunity to adopt a new and, honestly, a much more empowering perspective, to really see the brilliance that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. So instead of seeing a kid who's just questioning authority, you can start to see a future system thinker.
Instead of worrying about social withdrawal, you can appreciate a deep processor who is hard at work. And when you see that self-doubt, you can recognize the rare and incredibly valuable trait of a humble intellect.
When it comes down to it, the real takeaway here is this. Your child isn't trying to be difficult. Their brain is simply wired to engage with the world more deeply, more critically, and way more thoughtfully. They're just operating on a different wavelength, and our job is to learn how to tune in.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Now that you have this new lens, this new way of understanding, how are you going to adjust your approach? How will you make space for all their questions, honor their need for that quiet time, and reassure their humble intellect? Because nurturing that brilliant mind, that's the greatest gift you can possibly give them.